welcome to Yale College Voices, where we delve deep into the lives and journeys of remarkable individuals within our community. And for those who don't know me, I'm your host, Darice Corey, and today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Charmayne Allen, a native Arizonian with a passion for student affairs and a heart deeply rooted in her Navajo heritage. So welcome, Charmayne. I'm so happy to see you today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm very excited.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you for agreeing to chat with me today. And, I really look forward to getting to know you. Um, and for now, I'm going to read your bio and then we'll just get started. Charmayne Allen is a native Arizonian who was born and raised on the Navajo Nation. She is a Red Cheek clan, born for Near the Water clan. Her maternal grandparents are from the Yucca Fruit clan, and her paternal grandparents are from the Towering House clan. She is originally from Tees Nos Paz, Arizona, where her parents and sister continue to reside. As the Assistant Director of Student Affairs in the Yale College Dean's Office, Charmayne specifically oversees extracurricular and co-curricular student life with a focus on undergraduate student organizations. Aside from managing the 500-plus registered student groups on campus, Charmayne serves as an advisor to the Spring Fling Committee, UOFC, YCC Events Committee, and the 4 Yale College Class Councils. And we'll talk about our Yale College acronyms in a little bit. Additionally, Charmayne supervises the student organization consultants and Yale College graduate and professional events staff. Outside of student affairs, Charmayne is a Pearson College Fellow and a member of the newly launched affinity group, Indigenous Leaders at Yale, ILY. Prior to joining the Yale community in January 2022 to assist with coordinating and supporting student conduct, Charmayne's professional experience in higher education includes academic advising and student government administration at Northern Arizona University, NAU. NAU is also where Charmayne received both her bachelor's degree in psychological sciences with a minor in history and a master's degree in educational leadership in higher education. Charmayne enjoys reading high fantasy romance, attending festivals, and recently celebrated 10 years of marriage to her husband, Darnell. So, hi, Darnell. So awesome. And again, thank you so much for coming today, Charmayne. I really appreciate you, just being willing to open up on our podcast. So welcome.
Thank you. No, I was very honored when you asked me. Very
Really?
surprised. Yes, I was. Because
So awesome.
I did hear that Earl, who is
Yes.
also in our office,
Mhm.
did do the podcast with you. I was very excited. So I listened to
Really?
that, which was
awesome.
great.
Awesome.
So when you asked me, I was like, of course
Really?
I will
Oh,
come.
that's so
Yes.
cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, Earl and I, as you probably already know, we went through the Emerge Leadership program
Yeah.
together. So, yeah, and I told Earl he's like the president. I can't get a hold of him.
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
Right?
He's very slippery.
Yes, he's all over the place.
He's so involved in the
Yeah,
community, though.
yeah.
That's I think really what it is.
Right,
Yeah.
right, which is awesome, and you are too. So again, I just appreciate you taking time to sit with me today. So, Charmayne, I'm wondering if you could share a bit about your upbringing, like in your early years, your upbringing on the Navajo Nation, and then maybe also just share how it influenced your values and maybe aspirations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So, like you said, I was born and raised on the Navajo reservation.
Mhm.
I was born in Tuba City, and I spent a couple of my early years in Kayenta, Arizona, which is actually maybe about a 20-minute drive from the famous Monument Valley.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
interesting.
It's actually pretty funny. Now I'm
Mhm.
remembering I spent a couple of years when I was maybe around 5 or 6. I used to dress up and go with some of the tour guides that
Oh,
used to take
really?
tourists to Monument Valley. So I used to dress up in my traditional regalia
Mhm.
and take, photos here and there. And
Oh, that's beautiful.
so I was always since from an early age, I think I was always just very curious,
Mm-hmm.
right? And learning about like different cultures and things like that. And that extended to, just along the way, we ended up moving
Mm-hmm.
to Tisnaspas, which is where my mom is originally from. So that's where my mom's
Oh,
side is originally
interesting.
from. Yeah. Um, in Navajo, technically, the man is supposed to move where the women, to the women's family.
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's where we ended up moving. Which, when I think back to it, I'm always just still very. How do I say? Sorry,
No,
I'm
it's okay.
searching for the right words.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I didn't realize it, but my dad, he's the breadwinner of the family.
Mm-hmm.
He worked at a Black Mesa coal mine, which actually was like the biggest employer in the area,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he worked there, and so Kayenta was very close. That's kind of how my parents ended up living there. Like that's how my dad ended up living there,
Mm-hmm.
and then we stayed there for a few years. But when we moved to Tees,
Mm-hmm.
that's 70 miles away.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, that we moved there when I was in 8th grade, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say. And then my dad retired, I think, like around, like in between 2010, I think,
Oh,
and
wow.
2012.
Mm-hmm.
So we were out there for quite a few years,
Yeah.
and in that time he would make the drive back
Oh,
and
my
forth.
gosh.
So that was like
That's a
an hour and a half
journey.
to a 2-hour commute,
Yeah.
which, and we're talking Arizona and on the
Yeah.
reservation, so very rural. Like
Mm-hmm.
the roads are flat. You could go like
Really?
70 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
So very, very long commute.
Yeah, I can
Um,
imagine.
So back to, my upbringing. So
Mm-hmm.
because my dad worked all the time, it was, I hardly saw him.
Mm-hmm.
He worked the night shift
Mm-hmm.
for a long time. Plus, we were going to school. And so I feel like in a way that did have an impact on my upbringing because, the way that we grew up was just, dad's working.
Mm-hmm.
We take care of the home.
Mm-hmm.
My mom also worked. When we moved to Tisnaspas, she got a job working at the local school district
Mm-hmm.
in Shiprock, New Mexico, which
Mm-hmm.
is about half an hour from Tisnaspas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so she worked there. She worked as a custodian.
Mm-hmm.
She actually worked there, I want to say, for maybe like 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And after I would get out of school, like when I would get done with classes, I always remember walking from like the middle school down to the elementary school where she worked, and like I would help her.
Help her. Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like for me,
Awesome kid. You
yeah.
know?
So that's what I would do. So I would, help her, like
Yeah.
sometimes a vacuum and
Mm-hmm.
or help mop or clean the bathroom, something like that while she was
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever. Because for me, what that meant is we got to go home early.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to go home quicker.
Right.
So I feel like for me, that to this day, sometimes I still think about it. And for me, I'm very conscious of leaving spaces
Mm.
like clean and cleaning up after myself and, things like that. Because I'm like, somebody has to clean after this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Somebody's these don't just magically disappear.
Right.
And so that has obviously
Right.
stayed with me.
Because you knew like what it was like to
Exactly.
clean, and so it's almost like you wanted to be respectful of the people
Exactly.
who are doing the work.
Yeah. It made me very aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to, I finished up middle school in Shiprock, and then when I went to high school, I actually went to Navajo Preparatory School, which is it's a private school
Mm-hmm.
right off the Navajo reservation in the border town of Farmington, New Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually where my older brother and sister went. So I am the youngest of 4. I don't know if you can tell I'm the baby of the family.
What's that like? I'm the baby too, so
Okay. See, this is
right,
why we get
right.
along so
Yes,
well.
yes. And they still tease me like I'm 12,
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
Right?
Yes, my older sisters just always will. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
Mhm.
But yeah, so my two oldest siblings, they had gone to Navajo Prep and graduated because there's quite a age difference between
Mhm.
us. So they had gone and went to college, and my second oldest sister, who's only 2 years
Mhm.
older than me, so she was going there. So I went there. Obviously,
Mhm.
it was kind of like a legacy of
Yeah,
sorts.
yeah.
So I went there, and so I got to experience for the first time being away from home
Oh, okay.
and kind of having like a little bit of freedom, a little bit of
Right.
independence. Um,
So it was like a
yes, yes, yes. So it was like a
residential.
boarding school,
Okay,
right?
got it, got it.
So we would, you know, leave on like catch the bus on Sundays, and then
Mhm.
on Friday evenings
Mhm.
we would get dropped back off home. So we
Oh,
actually really only got
wow.
to spend like all day Saturday
Mhm.
back at home, and because we would catch the bus Sunday in the afternoons.
Mm.
So that's actually how I spent a lot of my well, not a lot. That's how I spent my high school years of only
Really?
spending like one day a week at home, and the rest of the
Wow.
time would be at Navajo Prep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like it was good and bad
Mhm. Mhm.
because I did get a little bit of freedom,
Mhm.
which I think for me it really again increased my curiosity,
Yeah, yeah.
which for me for the for the most part I think was a good thing.
Yeah.
I got to explore things that I don't think I would have if I had been home a
Mhm.
lot more,
Mhm.
or had gone to like a more public school. And I
Yeah.
think it's just a lot of the opportunities that Navajo Prep was able to offer in general,
Right.
but also just the people, because
Mhm.
all of the students that went there, they came from across the entire reservation,
Mhm.
which was really cool because you get to meet so many people. So I don't know if you're aware, but the Navajo Nation is quite large.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think people compare it to, uh, oh my gosh, what's the state? I want to say it's like West Virginia.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's quite big.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so being able to meet so many different
Yeah.
people from different spaces, it was really cool. Like
Yeah, I can
and
imagine.
and again, since we spent 6 days out of the week there,
Mhm.
the bonds that we made there were
Yeah.
actually really amazing and
That's
really,
awesome.
yeah. Uh, and it was great. I feel like I really enjoyed my time there, and I think
Mhm.
it really, again, like I said before, it really spoke to my curiosity, and I think from experiencing all the new things that like going to conferences and like being exposed to different options of life after high school,
Yeah.
was a big thing. They really pushed college. And so I knew for a fact that I wanted to go to college,
Really.
especially since, on my dad's side,
Mhm.
they were very, like on my dad's side and my mom's side, they're very different.
Really?
Yes, growing
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's a cultural thing
Mm.
to me, because it really just depends on on your family,
Mhm.
right? Because you have some people, families who are very traditional,
Right.
and some who are less traditional.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you have some who are like Christian,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
And so on my mom's side of the family, like we're just less traditional.
Really.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I was growing up, they were a little bit more like, casual,
Yeah.
and yes, like let's get together for birthday
Mhm.
parties and visit. And, that was kind of the vibe.
Mhm.
Whereas on my dad's side of the family, they were like ranchers.
Oh, okay, got it,
Yes.
got
And
it.
so they were a little bit more strict.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so when we went to spend time with my dad's side, it was always work, work,
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
work, which at the time, of course, as a child, I hated.
Yes. I can imagine.
I will not lie. I preferred
Yeah.
going to visiting my mom's side.
Right, right.
But when I was growing up, and we would go spend the summers like with my dad's side of the family with um, my grandmother,
Mhm.
which is so weird for me to say, if I can say, because
Mhm.
in Navajo, your paternal grandmother is called your nully.
Oh, okay, got it.
Um,
Okay.
so Unali, and then when you say grandmother,
Hmm.
people automatically know that you're talking about your mom's mom.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
So,
interesting. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah. It's so funny because,
Yeah.
like, around, when I'm like, ever since I went to college
Hmm.
and even now when I speak to people and they talk about their family and they're
Hmm.
like, oh, my grandmother. In my
And then your
mind, I'm
mind,
always
right.
wondering, like, well, which one?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
interesting.
But yeah, on my dad's side, they were a lot more strict. They were
Hmm.
a lot more, you know, uh, like it was all about like work ethic.
Working. Yeah.
Yeah. And making sure that things were done correctly.
Hmm.
Again, which I did not appreciate at the time. But I mean, now that I'm a grown
Right,
adult,
right.
I appreciate
I
like
was
learning.
curious, like,
Yeah.
did it,
Like instilling those values in me.
yeah,
It did.
yeah,
It was done against my will
really?
to an extent, but they came in handy,
Isn't it funny how that happens? Like,
Yeah.
my parents, same thing. Like, they came from, farming background, and
Yeah.
not that I did any work, but when they, so both my parents are from North Carolina, and when they came here, and at the time it was like factory
Hmm.
work, in Bridgeport. It was just where I'm from. But it's funny how that carried over into like, we had, I remember growing up, we had specific days for chores, and certain things had to be
Right.
done a certain way. And even to this day, my mom is the same. Like she likes things a certain way.
Right.
And, but, I'm finding how it spilled over into how I do,
Yeah.
how I do
Yeah.
things. So is that the same for you?
Yes,
Mhm.
100%. It's especially oh my God. I feel a little bad saying this because,
Mhm.
my husband is here. But it really like
Yeah.
became noticeable to me when I got married.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because with my husband, of course, he
Right.
was raised completely different,
Mhm, mhm.
different environment, different
Yeah.
culture, everything, and so I realized though I didn't realize it at the time, but
Yeah.
once I got married and we're living
Yes,
together,
yes.
and I
And
realized
sharing space.
yes,
Yeah.
sharing spaces and how
Yeah.
I liked certain things then, and I didn't even realize like just my expectations
Right.
and oh my gosh, I
It's so funny, right?
yes. But we had to communicate. We
Yes,
had to
yes, that's when
communicate
you
it,
learn,
figure it
yes,
out. Yeah. Which
compromise and
yes.
and all that good stuff,
Yes.
right?
That's so
Um,
funny.
yeah, that's so awesome. And thank you for sharing that because it sounds like two things I wanted to sort of go back to that you shared, just in terms of your schedule. Like, how did did you find that affected, or change or influence your perspective, whether in your college years or today, like just in terms of, you mentioned that you pretty much you were out of, you were away at school Sunday through Friday, and then you had
Hmm.
one day at home. Like, how did that influence you? Did you find, or, like, for example, since you sort of had this, did you have to squeeze in family time on, Saturdays, and, what?
Yes
Mhm.
and no. I
Mhm.
mean, the way that I feel that I grew up, and I think I want to say like is to an extent a norm,
Mhm.
at least to the people that I know, like
From
growing up on the
yeah.
reservation.
Mhm.
Um, Family time isn't really a priority,
Mm.
and like let's spend time together and do things as a family,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is like getting things done,
Mm. Mhm.
and that's just how it is. Like
Mhm.
like like having time to relax,
Yeah.
having time to spend together as like for a movie or to things like that. That
Mhm.
that's not that's not what
Yeah.
it's like.
Really?
So we're raised very differently.
Yeah.
Um, it's a lot about, again, it's about work.
Work ethic
Yeah,
and
work
yeah.
ethic and getting things done because there's always something done to be around. There's always something to be done around the house.
Mhm.
So if you have animals, the animals always need
Mhm.
to be fed, taken care of.
Mhm.
If you happen to live in an area where they can graze, you got to take them out to graze.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, haul water, which
Mhm.
and depending on where you live, that could be miles away,
Yeah. Oh my
going to
gosh.
get water at the
Mm-hmm.
windmill, things like that. Or if you don't have livestock and you live at home, then there's always like house chores.
Health chores. Yeah.
Always, 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 always. So there's always like cleaning to do, cooking to do, something like that. I remember for a long time, even to this day, if I'm relaxing on the couch watching TV and I hear somebody coming through the door, I automatically sometimes like tense up
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, I need to be doing something.
Right.
Yes, I should be working.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Like when
interesting.
I go home, when I went home this past Christmas and New Year's, it's still very hard for me to not do that because I mean I'm 37 years old, and even when I go home to this day, my parents will be like, "Oh, well, this needs to be done. This needs to be done,"
Really?
and I just kind of like fall right
Just
back
fall
into.
right back into the
I'm like,
routine.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
and again, it's a little bit of an adjustment for my husband when he comes with
Right.
me because he's like, "I thought we're supposed to be like visiting your family," because when we go back to his side of the family, they're very just different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they live in Las Vegas, so in a beautiful neighborhood and stuff, and so when we visit them. I mean, his parents are just, oh my God, they're so lovely.
Really?
Yes, and kind. And they're always like, have a seat.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
no, we don't need help with, cooking or washing dishes. And I'm,
And it's like you don't know how to turn it
yes.
off, right?
It like when we first got together, it took a while for me to get used to that because I felt like I was being a bad daughter-in-law,
Oh, wow.
honestly.
Yeah.
Because again, kind of going back to how I was raised and kind of like values, like,
Yeah.
so the
absolutely.
women are raised to, it's very traditional,
Yeah,
or at
yeah.
least like in that sense of, you need to be taking care of your family and your husband. And one of the big things as a woman that they push on you, so it's cooking, but just to be
Right.
more specific, in Navajo is making bread. So that's fried bread.
Oh, interesting.
Have you?
I
have you-
haven't. Yeah. So what does that entail?
So, so you make dough, right? So it's like flour, baking powder, a dash of salt, and like warm water. Some people add like butter or milk to it, but that's really it. And so once you get your dough mixed up, you let it set and rise for a little bit, and then you kind of I don't know how to. I'm trying to describe it like with words, but
Right,
like
right.
you flap it,
Okay.
you thin it
Like
out.
form it? Okay.
Yeah, it's to form it. Kind of like making pizza, but not
Okay.
really. It's like the size of a dish plate.
Got it. Okay.
So that's the goal.
Okay.
It takes some practice, let me
Okay.
tell you.
Really?
Yes, because it has to be even all the way around, and then you have a pan of boiling oil or hot oil, and you set it in there, and it fries.
Okay.
And then you flip it, and then that's it.
Is it like doughy or is it sort of a crispy?
So it depends
Okay.
on how you make it.
Okay.
So so that's one way to do it. I think the consistency that a lot of people go for is like right in the middle,
Okay.
because you want it a little bit crispy, but you
Okay.
want it to be like bendable.
Bendable. Okay.
Yes, because it's used for the most part, it's used just like you would use eat it with like a dinner roll.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So
okay.
you get the big thing that people use it for is like to make a sandwich. So you put like meat in there and just fold it up and eat it.
Okay.
It's so good.
Is it good?
It's so good. And
I know, and it's right before lunch, so
and what's wild to me is I remember my mom used to make it when we used to live in Kayenta. I remember I shared that I would go and like on these tours, like kind of like with people seeing the Monument Valley, and what I forgot to mention is my mom was an entrepreneur because we did Airbnb before Airbnb was Airbnb.
Really?
Yes. So we would
original.
do it. Yes, we would do. She would host like a bed and breakfast. Well, it's because
wow.
Monument Valley is such a popular destination.
Really?
And there's like only like 2 hotels or motels at the time that were located in the area, so they would get booked out so fast, and so and plus again, since Kayenta is like so remote, and the nearest town is like next town is probably like an hour, 2 hours
gosh.
away, and so when tourists would come through the middle of the night, they're tired, they don't want to drive, they would really offer to like pay to sleep anywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom was like, well,
Yeah. Why
we have
not?
these
Right?
extra rooms, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we did. And so part of that, aside from providing lodging, is she would make them breakfast in the morning,
Oh,
and
that's so
sometimes she would make
nice.
them bread.
Uh-huh.
And I remember being like I don't know, like a 7-year-old,
Uh-huh.
and seeing like these people like
Oh, butter?
put butter,
Yeah.
and or they would put like powdered sugar on it,
Oh.
which I remember seeing.
It's like, that's different.
Yeah, that's very different. And
Yeah.
and they would eat it like
Like a pastry almost.
yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And it was
It's like you're ruining it.
yeah, like you're not eating it correctly.
Right. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. But I mean, like that was just like, I remember seeing that for the first time when I was younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's what fry bread is.
Oh.
I hear that around this area, there's
Mhm.
something similar called fried dough, which to
Got
me
it. Okay.
sounds a little bit more like not sopapillas, like
Mhm.
kind of. It sounds a little bit different, but similar.
Yeah. Similar. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
that sounds like it's thicker.
I think it's thicker. I haven't had it in a while, actually. And it's funny because I'm always trying to turn my younger son onto these, these tastes. But yeah, it depends on where you go when
Right.
you get it, because some places will make it like and see, of course, I'm horrible with pastry bakery terms, but it's like a when they fry it, it's like how do I describe it? The batter is like a I don't know. It's not that they do designs, but they just kind of they
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's
I forget the word, but I
it's
don't.
like a carnival food.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you're talking about.
Carnival, that's
I
it.
forget.
And they just kind of they
Yes.
my scientific term.
I
They
know.
bleh, all over.
It's right on the tip of my tongue, Darice.
Right.
I know what you're talking
But you know
about.
what I mean? Like they use a
Mhm,
pastry bag
mhm.
sometimes, and they squirt it around, and
Not shortbread.
sometimes
What is
yeah,
it called?
sometimes it's yeah, I want to, for some reason, pizzelle is coming to my mind, but I don't think it's that. But but yeah, so it depends on where you go, because sometimes it's crispy but
Mhm,
fluffy in the
mhm,
middle. Like it has to have that
mhm.
just right, and it has to be like piping hot,
Right. Yeah.
like that.
Well, not only is it different, just like on the Navajo reservation,
Mhm.
but I think so different. So I want to say there are quite a few other tribes
Mhm.
across native land that make fry bread, and
Mhm.
it differs in texture and in
Mhm.
size depending on tribe.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I know that there are some tribes they make them like smaller
Okay.
and thicker,
Oh,
and they're used
interesting.
to that. And so,
Okay.
whereas like in Navajo, like we go like
Wider
wider
and
and thinner.
and thinner.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But what I like about, sorry, I know we're spending a lot of time
I
talking
know,
about
right?
food. I promise that there's a
Because
reason.
we're both hungry, right?
Yes.
Is it lunchtime?
But the thing is, like with this dough that you make, so
Mhm.
you can make fry bread, which
Mhm.
is the more popular of the two, but
Mhm.
the other thing that you can make is tortillas.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So
Yep.
if you just put it like on a
From the
griddle,
corn. Okay.
no, like from the same dough.
Oh,
So
really?
it can be
Okay.
fry bread, or you can like if you put it in oil, or you can
Oh,
put
you
it on
can
a
flatten
griddle,
it.
and
Okay.
it makes tortillas. And
Oh, got it.
again, like that's something that it's consistent. It's just like having dinner rolls, right?
Yeah.
That's what you
Yeah.
make.
Oh,
You can make a whole
interesting.
stack of them,
Right.
and it's the norm. But
Mhm.
like when I was, in my upbringing, that's a big thing that a lot of the women here, or the
Mhm.
girls, like at the time when you're growing up, it's like you better know how to make bread for
Oh,
your
yeah.
for your
For your
husband or
husband.
for
Yeah.
your mother-in-law.
Oh,
It's
really?
really like
It's important.
really
Yeah.
pushed in,
Interesting.
which I find hilarious
Yeah.
because my husband is not.
Oh.
But I can make really
Right,
good
right.
bread.
You
I
can
just
make
want to
it.
put
Okay.
that out there.
At least you can make it.
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
so he's had it.
He
Okay.
has had
Okay.
it, yes. He's so sweet. He tries to tell me that it's the best that he's
Uh-huh.
had. And I'm like,
Aw.
it's not as good as my mom's.
Aw.
And he's like, no, I've had it. I'm like, you're just saying that. You're just saying that. I appreciate you, though.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, what, since you mentioned that it was all, there was a focus on work ethic,
hmm
right? And how did that carry over for you, into your later years, like into college years, into now, in terms of, um, do you find that are you a workaholic or are you perceived as a workaholic, and maybe it's just something that's normal to you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I have to tell you, unfortunately, the work ethic kind of did leave me
Oh,
during my
really?
college years.
Yeah.
Yes. So when I went to college, I went to ASU, so
Okay.
Arizona State University,
Mm-hmm.
which at the time, back in 2004, I remember because
Mm-hmm.
everybody used to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually listed as the number one party school in
Oh,
Playboy
wow. Was it?
magazine.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So, I mean, it was, and I
Mm-hmm.
will tell you, because not only because of that, but also,
Mm-hmm.
it's in Phoenix, Arizona, like this
Mm-hmm.
city, and I'm just coming from the reservation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rural communities.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big culture shock for me.
Really?
Um, but again, because of my curiosity, like I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I like this was great. Like
Yeah.
these new experiences, like this new place. It was
Wow.
fantastic, and then meeting new people
Mm-hmm.
again. I was a social butterfly.
Really?
Yeah. And because of that, I sadly, I did
Mm-hmm.
kind of put school to the side, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of found myself falling into the social scene a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, well, not probably, definitely more so than I should have,
Mm-hmm.
because I ended up deciding to leave ASU
Mm.
2 years in, and
Okay.
instead, that's when I transferred to Northern Arizona University,
Mm-hmm.
which is located in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Oh.
Hashtag Go Lumberjacks. Because I had family
Oh, okay.
that were going to school there, including my
Mm-hmm.
older sister, who's
Oh,
2 years older
wow.
than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I ended up going there trying to refocus
Mm-hmm.
because I was not doing well in school.
Mm-hmm.
It actually took me quite a long time to finish
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
college.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a non-traditional student. It took me 8 years.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so
Don't
happy.
feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm so
And
happy.
yeah.
I
Don't
love it
feel
when
bad
people
about
are
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, because sometimes I
Yeah.
feel like there's
It's like
such a
pressure.
stigma around it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, it has to be 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
No.
if you're over that, then,
Yeah. I ended up I started undergrad full time, and my parents at the time my parents were helping me with
hmm
tuition, and they both got laid off at the same time.
hmm
And literally it was kind of like, well, you can continue or find a job, find a
hmm
full-time job. And I was working part-time at the time, and so I found, long story short, I found a job that paid tuition,
Oh,
and
wow.
which was crazy at that time because
I know. I'm thinking
you
about it
couldn't,
now.
yeah, you
Like,
can't find something like that. They
mm-mm.
paid 100%.
Wow.
And I just was like, all right, I'm gonna take as many as I can and work, during the day
hmm
and go at night. But it took forever, so don't feel bad. I mean, it took me 8 years. I mean, I started, and let's see, I'm gonna show my age, but but I won't say my age, but but I started as undergrad, and
Yeah.
I think I went the first couple years, and then I finished my undergrad, but I did it as continuing education,
Right.
which was like a whole different experience. And I honestly, I felt like it was a better experience for what I needed at the time, but I
hmm
kind of missed out. I've always said I missed out on the college, the
Mm.
college life or experience because I was commuting and going part-time,
No,
you
no,
know.
that's
Yeah, that's a whole
yeah,
other thing.
yeah, no, because I feel like I experienced it enough for the both of us.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's okay.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
But that's good, right? I
yeah,
mean, I don't know. Looking back, I don't know. There are just certain things I wish I experienced in college that
right.
I don't know, I just didn't. But do you think that those experiences, I don't know, did it influence your desire to work in student
Yes,
affairs? Really?
yes, 100%.
See, it was meant to be then.
Yeah, no, I really do think it's because of that experience that I am where
Really?
I am. Yeah, when I so towards the so
Hmm.
what happened? Oh my God. So what happened was, gosh, I want to say my 6th year in.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, I had not gotten my stuff together
Uh-huh.
because I actually I actually failed out,
Oh.
and for me that was a wake up
And don't feel
call.
bad about that. I did
Yeah.
horribly.
No,
I did horribly my first 2 years of college, so don't feel bad.
So I failed out, and that's when, for me, it was a reality check.
Mhm.
Like, oh shoot, like what am I gonna do?
Mm.
And I think it finally all clicked into place on what I could be losing.
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
how I could be affecting my future.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and luckily at the time, I had an advisor that I was seeing. And it was actually through the Multicultural Student
Oh,
Center.
wow.
So
Yeah.
not my academic advisor, just
Mhm.
like an advisor
Yeah.
for student services.
Interesting.
Um, so she was amazing. And she really helped to support me, and she made me feel like I was supported.
Mm.
And she took the time to say, okay, like these are the steps that you need to do to get back on
Yeah.
track. And so she like laid it out for me. And then so part of what I had to do obviously was I had to enroll in a community college that was
Mhm.
actually not too far from NAU. It's called CCC, Coconino
Mhm.
Community College. Um,
Mhm.
so I went there for a semester. I, put my head down in the books, and I did great. Which
Yeah.
for me also was like, you know what?
You could do that.
If I really tried, I could do
Right.
this, which was
Yeah.
great.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and then I went through the process. There's just, of course, so much paperwork that needs to be
Mhm.
done, so many steps.
Mhm.
But I was able to get re-enrolled back to NAU.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I was on track.
Yeah.
And I did what I needed to do.
Mhm.
And uh, and I finished in 2012.
Mhm. Mhm.
At least I thought I did.
Oh, what happened?
What happened was I did not receive my diploma like a couple
Oh.
months later. And when I asked them, like, hey, like I called the registrar's office, what's going on?
Mhm.
They told me that I was missing like
Oh, geez.
a foundational math course. And I was livid
Oh my
because
gosh.
I had gone to my academic advisor and I
Yeah.
had,
Because they usually do
yeah,
a
and they
whole.
signed off on it for me and everything.
Mhm.
And I said, how was this missed? And they're like, I don't know, but you need to finish this.
Oh my
You need this one class in order to finish. And
Oh my goodness.
I was so frustrated.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I actually I let that slide again for
Mhm.
another couple of years.
Mhm.
By this point, I'm married.
Yeah.
God, that's how long. That's how
Right.
long it
Oh
was.
my gosh.
And then, with the encouragement from my husband and
Mhm.
with my, because I really did know that this is the field that I
Right.
wanted to go into. And of course, you need a degree.
Right, right.
So I went back to school and
Mhm.
I got that credit. So I was
Mhm.
working full time, went back to school,
Mhm.
got it done, and I finally got my actual diploma
Uh-huh.
in 2017.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was,
Congrats.
I guess, as soon as I got it in the mail, I was like,
Right. I got the piece of
yes, I got the
paper.
piece of paper.
Yeah.
But when I got that, though, at that time, I was working at a behavioral health office.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, as an intake and referral coordinator.
Mhm.
But I had also spent a lot of time being involved still in student orgs because when I was going to NAU, when I was still going to NAU, I had gotten involved in a student organization. It
Mhm.
was a Native American ministry organization called
Oh,
One Tribe.
interesting.
Yeah. And at the time, I was feeling like really lost just because of where I was at in life. I felt like I just wasn't where I needed to be. All of my choices, all those things. And so when I became a part of that community, it was really great.
Really.
Yeah, and I feel like it was being a part of that community that also helped me in completing my degree because in some ways it kind of helped me to stay focused,
Yeah.
So that's also where I met my husband.
Awesome.
So even after I, stopped going to school because I had thought I had finished,
Right.
for the years following, we were still like involved, like here and there and things like that. But when I got my diploma and I decided that I wanted to go pursue a career in higher education, it was because of a few things. So one, it was directly due to the advisor that had helped me in getting to where I needed to be, because I really feel like without her support, I wouldn't have done it. And it was just like a light bulb. Like all students need is just that one person to like show that they support them, that they're there for them, to offer them a path.
Yeah.
And they can do it.
Right.
Yeah. And I just wanted to be that for other people.
Oh, that's
So that was really the biggest driving factor. The second reason was because of the community that I had in the student organization, One
Mm-hmm.
Tribe. And I felt like, just being a part of an organization on campus, like it has such a huge impact
Mm-hmm.
on students' experience at college. And it can have like a very positive impact,
Definitely. Yeah.
and so I just wanted to continue that as well. So I ended up getting an administrative job at NAU because we did stay in Flagstaff. And so I got a job at NAU in their student government
Oh, wow.
department. Yeah, so I was the one staff member that supported the student government, which
Mm-hmm.
at NAU kind of oversaw everything like
Oh,
underneath it, including
interesting.
like student organizations and
Really?
things like that. Yeah, so I that was like my first exposure to really working directly with student organizations, and I loved it.
Oh, that's so
Yes,
awesome.
I loved it so much that I decided that's what I wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah, it's through that job, and I said, okay, if I want to do that, I need my master's.
Right. Gotta go
So
back to school again.
yes, again, I just finished, but let's go
Right.
back.
Yeah.
But since I was an employee of NAU, they had that tuition
Yeah,
assistance, which
exactly.
do not sleep on if that's
Right.
offered. So
Yeah.
I did that for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the program. It took 2 years. And in that time, I transitioned to be an academic advisor for the College of Engineering
Oh, wow.
because I wanted to see the academic side of things
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
student government's on student affairs,
Mm-hmm.
academic advising, academic side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I did
Mm-hmm.
because I really got to see the difference because I thought, holistically, it'll help me to see what the current college student was experiencing,
Right, right. To see like the full circle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because seeing the way that, the students were being like talked to or advised or, guided in academic affairs is so different
Really.
than the advice and
Really.
thing that they would give you in student affairs or,
Yeah.
or student services.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for
Interesting.
me, that was kind of the deciding factor that if I'm going to work in higher education, 100% student affairs. And if I can pull it off, student organization.
Student orgs.
Yep.
Yeah. And now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like I missed out on. Like what I was saying with my experience in college was just, I feel like early on I transitioned to just working full time and I never really, I can't even say never really. I didn't get involved in student orgs or campus activities or unless it was required. I was never on campus, and I feel like I just missed out on that whole experience. And I always look back on it as especially being here at here at Yale and seeing
Oh
all
my
the stuff
gosh,
that's going on. I'm like,
yes.
oh, I would have loved doing
I
that in
know.
in my college years,
I
but
know.
I'm like, it is what it is now, but I do feel like I missed out on that experience because I was working, I
Right.
was working all the time. So
No, it's so true. I think I try to encourage students to get involved
yeah,
as much as possible on campus. I feel like for the students at Yale, they don't need a lot of persuasion. They're
right.
there already.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like when I speak to like my nieces and nephews back
Mhm.
home,
Mhm.
the kids of friends and family, I always try to tell them
Yeah.
like, no, like get involved.
Yeah, get involved, take
my-
advantage,
Take advantage. The big thing that I try to push students to do is study abroad because I never even
Same.
like first of all, I don't think I even thought about it.
Mhm.
And then secondly, if I did, I think I just brushed off like, oh, there's no way that I could do that. But I didn't know of like, the scholarships
Right,
or
the
like
opportunity
the way that they
yeah.
could help. And it
Yes.
probably would have been possible if I had just like tried.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And actually my one of my recent guests, Jackie Mano, was here and we talked about the same thing. It was like I just didn't pursue it.
Yeah.
Because I figured, oh, I can't afford it or I can't,
Yeah.
like, oh, it's not for me or
Right.
whatever. And I just wish I wish that someone could say like or explain the
Right.
process to me but I just again I sort of had that separation from campus and I
Yeah.
just wasn't as involved. And I would have loved to, experience something like that. So yeah, this it's really fascinating. So were there, well, you mentioned one of my questions was going to be like challenges and obstacles. So it sounds so it sounds like, but like you said, I mean, even though you may look at it as I don't know, like it's like, oh, you really enjoyed your college years, right? But you wouldn't have gone into this field if
Right.
you hadn't, just like you said, if you didn't have that mentor that
Right.
sort of helped you realize that, oh yeah, you can do it, and here's helping you develop a roadmap,
Right.
which is awesome. And so I'm curious. If you could share a bit more about like your involvement in student orgs, but not just student orgs, the affinity group, the
Yes.
Indigenous Leaders. So how did that come about? Because I know it's a newer affinity group, right?
Yes.
And if you could tell me a little bit more, like just how that developed, and why you want to stay connected and be involved.
Yeah. So so the affinity group actually. So I was pulled into that, or I was made aware of that
Hmm.
by my friend Diana.
Oh yes, yes.
Yes, who
Hmm.
also is one of the co-founders
Oh, that's
of
awesome.
ILY. Yeah, which I'm not even surprised about. She is amazing.
Really?
Yes.
And believe it or not, I mean, we've been on Zoom calls, but I haven't
I
met
know.
her in
You guys have
person.
been talking about getting together for so long.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll be a guest.
Yeah. Yes. You 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
Her story is amazing.
Awesome.
Um,
I'm
but
making a note.
yes, I'm making a note right now. Well, off the top,
Mhm.
the reason why I am even at Yale is because of Diana.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we met at NAU because she went to NAU as well,
Oh,
and we became really great friends.
really?
Yeah, and we were able to keep in touch over the past couple of years, right?
Mhm.
And then she came back later on. She worked at NAU
Mhm.
for a little bit, and I was with her when
Mhm.
when she found out that she was going to be coming to Yale.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it was so funny because
Interesting.
she applied to the position here as the assistant director
Mhm.
for the NACC,
Mhm.
kind of like on a whim. Like she was like, "There's
Right.
no idea," and then when
When
it
it
kept
happened.
progressing and it happened, like we were both like, "Oh
Oh,
my
that's so
God!"
awesome.
So yeah, and so she picked up, she moved out here,
Mhm.
and then I want to say like that was in early 2019, maybe mid
Mhm.
2019, right before
Right
the
before the
pandemic.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then when that happened, that happened afterward.
Mhm.
I had shared with her during that time that I had decided that I wanted to shake up my life,
Mhm.
and I think that was a result of the pandemic,
Pandemic,
honestly,
yeah.
just because you just don't know, like, why
Yeah.
wait? Like, I
Right.
had always talked about wanting to live on the East Coast.
Mhm.
I just wanted something different,
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody, everybody that I knew, lives in the Southwest or
Mhm.
the West area.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was always fascinated with the East Coast.
Really?
Yeah, and so when I would share this with her in one of our conversations, she of course was encouraging me to apply
Mhm.
to Yale, and I was
Nervous?
yeah, I was nervous, but
Yeah.
also, you got in. Like, let's not,
Aw.
I did not have that much faith in myself,
Oh,
but
geez.
she was a huge, support for me in that,
Mhm.
and pushing me, which
Mhm.
I really appreciated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she was the one that really pushed for me to apply
Mhm.
and helped me through the process, and ultimately one of the biggest reasons why I ended up here, aside from my husband.
Mhm.
Uh, so when I finally got out here, it
Mhm.
was great
Mhm.
because I knew somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my
So you
biggest.
weren't
Yes,
alone.
I was
Yeah.
not alone. So
That's awesome.
so she was introducing me to people around campus, which
Mhm.
was so great.
Yeah.
And then last year, she told me about the affinity group, and that was something that she was working on.
Mhm.
So I kind of would hear about it in the works,
Yeah.
as it was happening, just when we would go out for coffee, things
Mhm.
like that. So when it finally launched officially in November of
Mhm.
this past fall in 2023, I was, yes, 100%. I am
Awesome.
going. Sign me up.
Really?
I want to be a part of this. And the big, obviously, Indigenous Leaders of Yale
Mhm.
is a space, for people who identify as Indigenous to kind of just come together, and it's
Mhm.
supposed to be a place to support community.
Right.
And I think also like once that, I think community is really the core.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, of course, like professional development, things like
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I 100% joined. Like there was no
Mm-hmm.
hesitation. One, because of course, Diana was a co-founder and I
Mm-hmm.
100% supported the reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, again, it's just another way for me to be a part of the Yale community as a whole
Yeah.
and get to know new people,
Get to know
right?
new people.
I love that. I love meeting new people.
Yeah.
I feel like I would not last long
Really.
if I just like went to work and then home every day.
Just, yeah.
I get cabin fever.
Do you?
Yes, I do. If I'm in, if
Mm-hmm.
if we don't, go out and do
Mm-hmm.
something, occasionally I'll start to get jitter. I'll start to clean the
Really?
apartment. I'll start to get up
You'll
and
revert back to,
rearrange.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll start to like do all these things, and then if I'm like, you know what,
Interesting.
we need to like let's go
Like
to the
do something.
let's go
Yeah.
do something. Let's go to the museum or for
Mm-hmm.
a drive, something. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
so interesting. I'm the same. Like a few folks have asked, like, why don't you work remotely? And it's like, no, I need to be out of the
right.
house when I do my work because I personally, and this is just for me, I personally don't like to become too isolated and find myself home for too long because I like to get out and
Mm-hmm.
at least see people. I don't have to talk to them, but you know what I mean? Like at least like people watch or, do something.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
100% agree.
yeah, like I just and that's part of why I enjoy coming to camp because there's, it's stuff going on
Yeah.
and I get to see people. But you know what struck me with what sharing your story about how you came to Yale. One of the things that I've found after, speaking with my guests is that we all have in common that um all of our jobs, it's something that we really truly love doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, it's just so interesting because that's what makes Yale College what it is. It's like we all, whether, I work in IT, I love technology and, problem solving and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And for you, like working in student affairs and working with people and,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that, it sounds like it's something that you truly enjoy. And then it's like, okay, if we can do what we truly enjoy, we do our jobs even better, right?
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like,
Yes.
that's so cool because to me, it speaks to why Yale College is a special place, right?
Right.
So I'm wondering if we could talk about, wow, we covered so much and look it's almost an hour. But yeah, I mean, if you could tell us a little bit more about your role as assistant director of student affairs and and here's the other interesting thing that struck me as you were sharing how Diana encouraged you to apply here
Mm-hmm.
and at first you were kind of like, I don't know if I
Yeah.
can do it. Um, where do you think? Why do you think you felt that way?
I think, I think if I'm honest, I was just intimidated by the name
Mm.
of Yale.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But when I looked at the job description,
You're like,
I was
could
like,
do
I could do
that.
that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I could do that. It's like
I could
1,
do
2.
that.
I
Yes.
could do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And,
awesome.
and that's what Diana told me as well.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, she told me, she was like, you could totally do this job.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it was just the name of Yale that
Mm-hmm.
really had me hesitate and
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
believe that I could be selected for this
Yeah.
position. And I think it's not, I think it wasn't because I didn't think I could do this job.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought there's probably somebody out there that can do it better than me.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And so I thought, Yale hires the best.
Right.
Oh,
But you
which now
are.
I'm saying that
Yeah,
about
it's like
myself
you
now.
are, right? Which is
Yes.
amazing.
This is great for me, Darice.
Yeah.
I'm having all
It's
of these.
therapeutic,
Yes,
right?
it's very therapeutic.
I love it because yeah, it's so true. It's like, well, I guess it, they call it like imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
you, for some reason, don't think of yourself as the best. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like, no, that's why you're here.
Right.
And it's so true because that happened to me too. When I applied, I started at Yale as a programmer and And I had tried several times, to be honest with you. I tried several times before I was finally, hired. Yeah, and I started becoming discouraged, like
Right.
maybe,
Oh, yeah.
maybe they don't want me here, but and I'm so, well, I'll tell you a story. Like so I kept trying because a friend of mine worked at the med school, and she was just like, no, keep doing it, keep doing it. I'm like, I know at some point they're gonna get tired of seeing my resume, like who's this Darice person? But she kept encouraging me, like, just keep trying, trust me, like it'll happen. And I was like, okay, and I did. But it's interesting because a colleague of mine just let's see, that was Friday, this past Friday. Same thing. She had been laid off from a position from another local university and had tried a few times. And she was becoming discouraged because it was like, what's wrong with,
Oh gosh,
like, what's wrong with me
I feel like that's always what
in the back of your mind,
what's
right?
wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, or I'm not.
Or not good, not good enough or whatever, or someone's better than me or whatever. And and I said the same thing. I said, no, trust me. I was like, please keep trying. And, we'll try a couple different things. Like, who knows, maybe I know the recruiter, or, I can put in a good word or something. And sure enough, she kept trying. And sure enough, she got hired last Friday. And and I was like, yes, but it's so, it's hard because we're hard on ourselves, right? Like because I tried not to think of it as, I'm not, okay, here's the other interesting thing. So I'm part of this fellowship that I told you about. It's called the Next Leaders Fellowship, which is awesome, by the way. Huge shout out. Where technology leaders are actually mentoring people like me, particularly people of color. And we were talking about, this was just the other day, we were talking about situations like that where you try and you're not hired or you're not promoted or whatever, and how discouraging it is. And the speaker from that day was like, you have to learn to reframe those situations as opposed to looking at or thinking that you don't belong or they don't want you or that kind of thing. And so we're talking about all of these examples, like, how do I reframe this? And I'm like, I don't know, this still feels pretty bad. You know what I mean? Like, rejection feels bad. I don't know.
No matter how you frame it.
No matter how you frame it, right? But and for me, even though yes, I rejection feels bad, but so the way I was reframing things was like, not, how do I put this?
Just
like if maybe it just wasn't meant for me at that time. And the right, I have to keep trying, and the right thing will come along when it's the right fit.
Right.
And so I try to look at it it's not easy, but
Right.
but I try to look at it that way, like it's the right, when it's the right time and the right fit,
Right.
that's when it'll happen. And I'm like, look, it happened. Like we both are here. And that's what, with my colleague from the other day, I was like, just keep at it. I promise, because it's like once things are coming together, it'll happen.
Right.
But it's so hard, right?
It's so hard. I'm reminded of, did I read? I think I saw this on a TikTok.
Yeah.
Because I do watch TikTok.
Me too. That's my comic relief.
Right? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I came across one in my For You where it talked, like there was this girl, she was sharing a similar type of experience, like in applying to jobs and constantly like not getting hired and feeling discouraged, but she had decided to adopt like the mindset of, you know what, I am just going to try everything, and I am not going to say no to myself. I'm going to let other people say no to me. Like, that's the way I'm going to do. So she said she started applying for jobs that she was like, I'm not even qualified for.
Yes.
And she was astounded by how far she got.
Yeah.
Or even like how many offers she got.
Right.
And so I feel like that's the way that we should live. Like, I mean, maybe not in all things, but like at least with your, with your goals, like just don't say no to yourself. Like, let other people say no to you.
Yes.
And I feel like, you'll be astounded by how far you get.
And it's so true. And that's actually one of the things that came up that day was just, we were talking about our career aspirations, and I expressed what mine are, and I'm always looking at my next two steps, or I try to. I shouldn't say always. I try to look for my next two steps, and so my cohort and I we were discussing how so one of my colleagues was thinking of applying for his like old boss's position, and he didn't think he qualified. And same thing, we were like, but why would you just totally exclude yourself when you don't know? You don't know what qualities they're looking for. Just because your boss had these qualities doesn't mean that that's what they're looking for, in you. Why not? Why not just go for it? And so we had this whole discussion because it was like, you don't know how far you're going to get. But it's tough to get into that mindset because you think you don't qualify. And so you just sort of self-elimination and and it's like, but you're not going to know. And I'll give you another example, like just in terms of, to be honest with me, it's like I've applied for things that how do I put this? I shouldn't say it. I'm thinking of a good way to say it, but in my mind, I kind of knew like, they're probably not going to consider me. But what came out of it, and I expected a rejection, right? But the hiring manager who's like a senior leader here at Yale offered to just have a chat with me and talk about like, what are your career aspirations? And, gave me some wonderful nuggets of knowledge. And that had never happened to me before. Usually, in the past, if I've ever applied for a position at Yale and you get the automated, okay,
thank you for submitting.
Thank you for applying, but we've moved on. And I've gotten used to that. I've never had and not just a hiring manager. I mean, this was like a senior person at Yale who offered some time just to talk to me and talk about my aspirations and give me some actual items like that I can turn into actionable items. And I that really struck me because I was just so grateful that someone was willing to just give me some time to, and not just give me the automated rejection, and you just never know. You never know what kind of connections you're going to make. Even if you do get a rejection, it's like, but you don't, I would love to see that happen more often, but it just goes to show like, you don't know.
No, it's true. You don't. And I think one of the things that I learned as well is, so along with applying to Yale, I also applied to so many other places. Yes. I want to say I applied to maybe 30 other positions like along the East Coast from like different schools. I think I started to think of it like as a numbers game.
For every 10. You might get,
like out of that. And you know what? And it happened. Like I want to say out of all of the positions I applied for, I got about 17 interviews, like first round interviews. And of the
That's really
17,
good.
Thanks.
That's really good.
It was encouraging, like, well, I mean, at least I'm being considered. Like I'm obviously being considered for some of these positions. But so 17 probably for the first round. And then second round, I want to say that was maybe like 5.
Wow.
And then I made it
That's a good
to,
percentage.
yeah. And then for
Yeah.
the like ones that I was really like in the last round, like if I
Hmm.
was the top pick, or 2 positions.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think
It's like it boosts your
right.
confidence, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one of the positions that I was flown out for to
Hmm.
interview for, which for me was a big deal because I still
Hmm.
lived in Arizona at this time.
Yeah.
I had an interview at FIT, the
Oh,
Fashion
yeah.
Institute in New
Hmm.
York City.
Hmm.
So I flew out there to do a presentation. I did not get it,
Hmm.
but I made sure to keep in good
Yeah,
communication with
yeah, like a
the hiring.
connection.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
connection. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, with the person that I had been talking
Hmm.
with the hiring manager, and it worked out because not long after I started working at Yale, I got
Hmm.
an email from her, and this
Hmm.
was months later, maybe like 3 or 4 months later,
Hmm.
and she had emailed me saying, I hope you're doing well.
Hmm.
I'm reaching out. This position became available, and I immediately thought of you.
Oh,
Would you
wow.
be interested
Hmm.
in this position?
Oh, wow.
But I told
I
her,
know. It's like,
yeah, like,
no,
oh my gosh,
right.
that's like, thank you so much for thinking of
Yeah,
me. But
that's awesome.
I had already moved here and everything like
Right.
that. And I mean, this is Yale.
Yeah, yeah, right,
So
right.
I
It's like, I
politely
don't plan on
declined.
leaving yet.
Yeah. But things like that
Hmm.
happen, and
Hmm.
you don't know
Right.
if that's, what's going to happen out of these, even
Yeah.
if it's a rejection.
Yeah. And it's like you won't know until you try,
Hmm.
at least try. Um, and I can go on and on about that because there are opportunities that I feel like I just missed because I didn't try, and
Yeah.
or I didn't have someone to support me,
Right.
or guide me through the process, or
Right.
just encourage me, like, no, you could do, to
Yeah.
say that you could do this. And so, and again, it leads back to, why you're here, and it's just awesome that you do love what you do,
I
right?
do.
Like, you
Yes.
enjoy your job.
I love it so much, which I think I'm remembering what you asked me earlier
Mhm.
about being a workaholic.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I I don't want to say that I am.
Mhm.
I want to say that I love my
Yeah,
job,
yeah, yeah.
and that's why I work so
Right.
much. Um, I do know that I have to set up boundaries,
Yes, yes.
because I could easily just continue working
Continue.
until 10 o'clock,
Mhm.
which I actually think I did.
I know
Um,
you did,
yeah,
because we were
I
in
did because I emailed you.
right.
Yes. But
Mm.
I think I just got to tell myself, this is still going to be here tomorrow. For the
Yeah.
things that do seem urgent, I try my best to.
Right.
Those are the ones that I need. I
Yeah.
definitely need to
Right,
respond to
right.
these ones. But things that I can kind of push off until the next day, I
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
And just trying to like manage my time in
Mhm.
that. But I always can tell when I'm feeling a little bit burnt out
Mm.
because uh, I'm not excited to go into the office.
Mhm,
Because
mhm.
usually, I wake up in the morning, have
Right.
coffee,
You're, like,
and it's,
ready to
yeah, and I'm
go, and
just, this is just what my day is going to look like. But
yeah.
if I wake up and I consciously have the thought of like, I just don't want to go in,
Mhm.
for me, that's a red flag. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, like I need
Yeah.
to do
Need to take
something.
a
Yeah, I need to take a
yeah,
break.
yeah.
So I've been trying my best to be a little bit more
Mhm,
self-aware,
mhm,
and when that happens, don't ignore it, because
mhm.
sometimes I will. Well, I guess depending on what's happening, because
What's happening?
sometimes
Yeah.
I cannot
Sometimes you
ignore it.
have
It's
to.
like,
Yeah,
well, I
yeah.
have to power through this.
Right, right.
But yeah, I love my job. I
Mhm,
feel like I can't see myself moving into a different
mm,
position. I
mhm,
think this is kind of where I want to be for a while.
mhm,
I know my family have asked me already, like, okay, so
mhm.
what's
What's
next? And I'm
next?
like,
Yeah.
Nothing. This is
Right,
it."
right.
They're like, you don't want to like,
Mhm.
I guess like move higher, like,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, like become a director or, something like that. And I'm like, no,
Mhm,
no, no.
mhm.
Because for me, I think with student affairs specifically, the higher you move up in
Mhm,
the chain of command or in the ladder, the less
mhm.
direct interaction you get with
Yeah,
students. And
yeah.
for me, that's
That's what
what I love.
that fuels you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I don't want to give that up.
Oh,
Just
that's
at least
awesome.
just yet. I could
Yeah.
be singing a
Right,
different
right.
tune in like, I don't know,
Yeah, give it a
10
few
years,
years. Yeah, exactly.
but right now
But
this is where I want to be.
but that's what's amazing, and again, I think that's what makes it, it makes it a special place, but also it makes uh how you do your job and do it well, because
Mhm.
you love what you do.
Mhm.
And that's what's been so cool about talking to everyone is just, whatever their jobs are. It's like, yeah, but this is something that I really truly love
Hmm.
doing and enjoy. And I just think that's so awesome, because not many people not many people have that
It's so
luxury,
true.
you
I
know?
tell that to people. Like I hope that that's what I want for
Yeah.
like the people that I love most in the world. I was like, I
Hmm.
want you to enjoy
Hmm.
your life,
Yeah.
basically. And
Yeah.
we work like 40 hours a
I
week, like
know,
at
right?
minimum, like right. Like if you have a
Yep.
full-time job, it's like
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy that, and I
Hmm.
hope you find like a job or a career that
Hmm.
you enjoy. So it's
Yeah.
just quality of life.
Right. Right. It truly is. And gosh, I mean, we can go on forever. I hope that I hope Brian has time. Um, so, I guess I'll sort of lead into, oh, I hate to wrap up because I could talk to you for a while,
It's okay.
but you talked about what you love about, your job. So why don't we talk a little bit more about, since we talked about self-care,
Mhm.
what ways, I know you love high fantasy romance.
Yes.
So what other ways do you, I don't know, just maybe turn off the work ethic and the, work mode. What other ways do you sort of just take time for you and, self-care?
Aside from reading,
Mhm.
because I think reading is actually a big one for me.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I love reading so much.
Really?
Yes, I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But aside from reading, I would say spending quality time with my husband
Aw.
is the big one,
Yeah.
if not the number one.
Yeah, yeah.
We enjoy doing things together. We
Mhm.
enjoy. I mean, we could just spend the weekend like binge watching if we
Uh-huh,
want to.
uh-huh.
Even just something as small as you know, when we were talking about TikToks
Mhm.
earlier, we
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
do that, and I feel like it's not really just the act of watching it together, but
Mhm.
it's nice sometimes, depending on what it is. Like
Right.
sometimes we'll have discussions.
Yeah,
Like we'll
yeah.
have full blown discussions about people's takes on things,
Mhm.
especially if they're like about relationships or if
Mhm.
they're talking about maybe something they experienced.
Mhm.
Like I'll look at him and be like, "What do you think?"
Mhm. Oh, that's
which
great.
which I think sometimes he's just like, "I'm just trying to watch
Yeah.
this TikTok." But I like it, because I ask him honestly,
Yeah.
obviously, because I'm thinking of something.
Right,
Like
right.
you go first, and then
Yeah,
I'll go.
yeah.
Uh, but it's nice, I think
Yeah.
it's great. We end up having like these random conversations,
Yeah.
and I think that happens as well, like when we watch movies. And I think
Mhm.
this kind of actually became a thing over the pandemic,
Mm,
during
mhm.
quarantine,
Mhm.
um, which I we joke about it,
Mhm.
but I really feel like for quarantine, like for us, it made us closer.
Mm, mhm.
Which I know that we're lucky, because I know
Yeah.
for some
Yes,
people
for
in
some
relationships,
people.
they were like, you know what? Nope, I'm out. But for us, like
That
I
would be
think,
me.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
so
No,
sorry.
no, people laugh when I say about it. It's totally okay.
I'm so
It's a good thing.
sorry.
So so don't feel sorry at all. But no,
Okay.
it's true. Like you really, like
Right.
during that time, people really, it was like a lot of self-reflection, right?
Yeah.
And learning about each other.
Mhm.
And like you said, it either went very well
Mhm.
or horribly wrong.
Mhm.
But no, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that.
It came out, so one of the things that we started doing, because a lot of what we did was watch TV, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And movies and stuff like that. So we're
Hmm.
streaming a lot. And
Hmm.
one of the things that we started doing is we started saying like pause. And
Hmm.
so we would pause the
Hmm.
show that we're on, because, there would be a statement that was made
Oh,
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
a plot twist, whatever. We would
Hmm.
pause it and we'd be like, okay, I have to share with you what I'm thinking.
Oh,
And we would
really?
just start having a conversation
Oh, that's so great.
about it. And sometimes these conversations would last like half an
Oh
hour.
my gosh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I love doing that. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's a way that we've, I don't know, like it's another way that we
That you
communicate
connect.
and
Yeah.
connect. Yeah. And
That's
I
awesome.
really like it. And I think in terms of unplugging, and, not thinking about work
Hmm.
being able to set those boundaries. That's a way
Yeah.
that I do it, because I shut the door on work,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just focusing on us,
Mm-hmm.
and let me learn more
Yeah.
about my husband, and
Yeah.
let us talk more and connect
Right.
more, and it's nice. And
That's
sometimes these
amazing.
conversations are just so random,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much, and again, like, so we could talk. I think if we have a really good topic, we could talk
Like
for
all
hours.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, next thing you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's midnight.
I
We need
know.
to
It's like
go
I'm
to,
hungry. Yeah.
yeah, or like, let's get food, which I
Yeah.
enjoy. And I think for me, that's 100% a way that I am able to turn it
Mm-hmm.
off and
Mm-hmm.
to just relax
Mm-hmm.
and
And be in
enjoy
the
myself. Yeah.
moment,
And
and
be in the moment.
I think that's amazing. I agree. Of course, I have a special someone, and I think that's one of the things I love is that we can talk all day. We can, have a conversation about, and it could be so random. It could be something silly,
Yeah.
and I think that's great. Like we could have a long conversation about, socks or, I mean, it could be something really silly,
Yeah.
or, a memory from childhood, or,
Yeah.
things like that. And I agree. And see, again, we could go on forever, but I feel like that carries over into how you work with students,
Mm-hmm.
like just connecting with different,
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds and experiences, and even just how you grew up compared to how, you probably hear a million stories about student experiences,
Right.
and just your ability to connect with them regardless of, the differences, right?
Yeah. I mean, I hope I'm able to connect
Hmm.
with my students.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like for me, I think back to, I don't, when I was a student. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously so much has changed, but one of the things that I really appreciated was when I was treated with respect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I feel like when I talk with students, that's one thing that I really try
Mhm.
to lead with is, okay, you're an adult.
Yeah, yeah.
We're having this conversation.
Right.
I'm not gonna,
Sugarcoat,
sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna, hopefully not be condescending and
yeah,
talk
yeah.
down. Nothing like that. Okay, we're
Mhm.
gonna talk, and then depending on your answers, that
Mhm.
will kind of lead me on, okay, do you need, I guess maybe you need more support in this
Yeah.
area, or maybe you need more information for this. And some of them, they got it
Mhm, mhm,
handled, and I'm like, fantastic,
Right.
great. Just let me know if you need anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know some of our other students, you could just kind of tell by that they're used to a lot more support.
Right, right.
I'm like, okay, so I'll give them a little bit of support, but that to me signals, okay, you need guidance on how to do this on your own,
Yeah.
and I will help you
Right.
to learn how to do this on your own.
That's
So then
awesome.
next time you won't need as
You
much
won't be as
support.
nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of really one of the things I try to keep in the back of my mind is,
Mhm.
if a student needs support,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm definitely going to give it to them. But
Mhm.
what can I do to where next time
Mhm.
they may not need support?
Right,
Like
right. So they
let's
can,
equip them.
yeah, yeah. So they're
Yeah,
more independent. And
exactly. Yeah.
that's amazing. And one thing that struck me about what you just said is, um, and I think this also comes through in terms of my, our working relationship, is that you are conscious of not wanting to treat anyone in a way where they may interpret it as being condescending or
Yeah.
anything like that. Like where, like, where did something happen to you where it's like, I don't want, like, I don't want to make someone feel that way. So that's how you know, that's how I do things.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I can really oh my gosh,
Mhm. I know, we
we're
could
having
go
a
on
whole
forever.
therapy session about
Ryan will have to stop us
Yes,
if
that's okay.
Brian just hit a buzzer or something if if we're
No.
going way over.
Um, I feel like, when I shared with you when I was growing up and how my dad's side was a lot more strict.
Mm,
Yeah, they really were. There was no sugarcoating and things
mm,
like that,
mhm,
and it was difficult for me as a
mm,
child
mhm,
to process that, because I think for a while I was like a little resentful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even now, like as an adult, sometimes I think back to it, and some of my memories aren't the best,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I know what they were doing. It wasn't like malicious
Right,
or
right.
anything like that. It
It's
was
like
like, hey,
tough love.
it was tough
Yeah.
love. It really was. And so I see that now, but I mean,
Mhm.
like that doesn't erase how I
Mhm.
felt at the
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
And I think it's because of having those feelings of like not feeling like I was smart enough or that I knew what that I was capable, those type of things. I think I would never want anybody to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
this is so silly. Also, I am by no means a fighter. So if I found myself in a situation where I accidentally offended
Oh,
somebody,
got
and
it,
I
got
would
it.
be like, no,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. Like
Right.
I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
get into any kind of
Yeah.
altercations,
Right. Or
you know.
confrontation
Yeah, I
over.
am not a
Yeah. Yeah.
confrontational person at all. And that actually happened. I think maybe I'm a little bit more aware of it these days because a couple of years ago, I was like out with some friends, and a person that I didn't recognize came up and like said hi. Oh, no. I was in line for the restroom, and I saw this person kind of looking at me seated at a nearby table, and I just kind of smiled like, hi. And then all of us, like what happened was that kind of led to this whole confrontation of that person
Oh my gosh.
like yelling
Being
at me,
upset with you.
and saying like, you don't remember me, like
Oh
this
my
whole
gosh.
thing, and you always say this, and it turned
What?
into them thinking I was doing it purposefully,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was literally stunned.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I honestly don't remember a lot of what they said because I just was frozen in
Yeah,
the moment.
yeah.
Um,
And it's like, I
but
didn't mean that at
yeah,
all,
I
you
didn't
know?
mean it at
Yeah.
all. And so the way that just kind of happened, that was about maybe like it had to be like 3 or 4 years ago. And so since then, I get really nervous now
Yeah.
when people that I don't recognize
Like,
like
make eye,
wave or
yeah,
smile
yeah.
at me, and I'm like, oh my God,
I
do I know
know.
that
I
person? Like
know.
I need to like and like
I need a book or
I
something
need
so
to
I can
like figure out a way
Yeah.
to a better method of recognizing people, or like so now my default when I meet new people is, if you see me, say hi, and I always try to tell them if I
We are
don't
so much
if I
alike.
don't remember you, please don't be offended, because that's like I
Yes,
start
I
like
am the
with a disclaimer.
Same. I know. I do the same
Yeah.
disclaimer.
Yes, I do disclaimers all the
I'm
time.
horrible. I'm horrible with names, and it's like I
that's me
might
too.
remember a face, but a name it takes me forever to try to place, like, do I know them from work? Do I know them from this? Do
Oh,
I know them from, and then I'm trying to like go through this fast Rolodex, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know the name. And
yeah.
so I always tell people, like, please don't be offended
Yeah.
if I do the same thing.
Yeah. I'm like, it's
Like,
it's me.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
you.
it's
Yeah.
totally, it's not that you're not special,
Yeah.
like you are special. I'm horrible at
Yeah.
remembering names. Or, God forbid, during the pandemic, I don't know
Oh,
people
yes,
by
because
their
everybody
eyes,
has a mask. Yeah. Oh my God.
I was so like,
I would
if
not
I
know
saw someone
anybody.
in the grocery store, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know who
Yeah.
you are.
I feel
And
like
then they do this, oh
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, But yeah, and then I feel guilt because same thing, like I don't want people to feel like I'm ignoring them or or that I'm treating them some kind of,
Right.
rude way or
Yeah.
anything like that. But I'm always like worried about something like that because same thing, like if I'm walking around campus and someone smiles, I'm like, oh hey,
Yeah.
I get all excited like, hi, I have no idea who that was, but hi. Because I always feel, I don't know, I'm the same way. I always worry that they'll think, oh, she's being rude.
Yeah.
And,
I really, gosh, I would hate for somebody well, first of all, to make somebody feel that way, but then to
Yeah.
also like think that I'm being purposely rude. Like, no.
yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
not. Oh man, we could talk forever, but so of course I have to wrap up.
Okay.
But a couple things I want to ask you before we leave.
Sure.
Like, after sharing with me about your early years and college years, is there any advice that you would give your younger self?
Oh my gosh.
Um, like during times when it, was just a challenge or, something challenging was going on in your life?
I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Mhm. Uh-oh.
So I would say to listen to my older sister.
Oh, wow.
Yes. My older sister that I had mentioned before, who's 2 years older than me, Leonla,
Mhm.
Unla for short.
Mhm.
Uh, she's the best older sister.
Aw.
She's like my role model,
Really?
honestly. Yeah, she's amazing. But you know, growing up, she was always there for me and always trying to guide me,
Mhm.
um, and support me.
Aw.
And when we were in college, and I was going through all of the what I was
Mhm.
going through,
Mhm.
she would try to give me advice, and then when I didn't listen, it was tough love, and I would
Mhm.
still like not listen.
Mhm.
But I mean, if I could give myself, you know, any advice, it would be to listen to her,
Oh, that's
which I
amazing.
can't believe because I know she's going to
Yes,
hear
yes,
this.
and now she'll never let you
Yes,
live it
now she'll
down.
never let me live it down. No, but I mean, like
Mhm.
even to this day,
Mhm.
if I'm struggling with something, be it work, or something personal, I'll call her
Mhm.
and tell her, and I just feel like she gives such
Mhm.
great advice.
Really?
Yeah, like it's really good,
Yeah.
and so I appreciate having her as a resource,
Yeah.
like a life resource.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
a connection. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, just looking back on our conversation, because I had a bunch of things I wanted
Oh, I'm
to
so
ask you.
sorry.
No, but it's okay because it's like these are, what I feel is that hopefully when someone listens to this conversation, they'll think of a million things they would love to ask you, because I would love to hear more about your your background
Yeah.
and just how it influences you today, and I'm like, oh, look at her beautiful ring, I want to talk about the ring, and like all these things that came up, but yeah, I mean, is there anything that since you've been at Yale, so it's been about
Two
how many,
years.
2 years,
Yeah.
um since you've been at Yale, is there anything that you'd like to share about yourself or your journey that um that you really want listeners to connect with? Like, if they see you at a staff meeting or they see you out and about, at, around campus, is there anything about you that you would really love for everyone to know?
Oh, that's a
It's a big
that's a
question,
big
but
question.
if you could pick one thing.
If I could pick one thing,
Mhm.
I mean, like I had said earlier, growing up, I was very curious, and I feel
Mhm.
like I still have that, you know, curious spirit in me.
Mhm.
And I feel like, that could extend to so many things. But
Mhm.
I think if somebody saw me walking across campus,
Mhm.
and they wanted to talk about, well, I guess about me,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
learn more about me,
Yeah.
I would be open to that because
Mhm.
that means I get to ask about you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would love meeting new people and learning about new people. But
Mhm.
also if it's work related and,
Yeah.
if it's a colleague,
Mhm.
and they want to collaborate or they have questions about student org stuff,
Right.
yes, ask
Mhm.
me because one, why is this coming up?
Right,
And
right.
is it an issue? Like,
Mhm.
how can I, because then I'll go right into problem solving mode.
Yeah,
Like, let's
yeah.
fix this if this is
Right.
an issue, because if you're experiencing it, somebody else probably is.
Mhm.
And I feel like that also extends to students.
Mm.
So for students, like if they have ideas of things that they want to do, or if they're unsure on how to do things, like just come up and ask me.
Mhm.
Please don't hesitate to ask me. I always
Yeah.
try to, in my conversations
Mhm.
with students, like if you have anything else, please don't hesitate. Ask me, call me, email me,
Mhm.
because for me that always has me question, like why are you asking this,
Right.
and is it an issue, and is it something that we need to work
Mhm.
on solving,
Yeah, yeah.
because I just want to be able to provide the best support to our students.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Um, I love that. I see, I could talk to you forever. Are there my last question,
Okay.
are there any particular initiatives that you're working on right now that you're really excited about that you're involved with, whether it's here at Yale or outside of Yale?
Aside, I think the one thing that comes to mind would be ILY. So
Yes.
Indigenous Leaders at Yale. We just
Hmm.
had our monthly meeting
Hmm.
yesterday at the
Awesome.
NACC. Yeah, it was great.
Hmm.
And we're still trying to like get the footing down, just logistical things, like
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
like making sure like
The
the
meetings
the the
and
meetings are
yeah.
scheduled, the email distribution is good to
Right.
go, newsletters are good. So like
Hmm.
just kind of hearing the conversations around that. And
Hmm.
I had told them at the time, like, so for next year,
Hmm.
if, because again, they're still putting things into place,
Right.
I offered to be a part of the social planning committee
Oh, yeah.
for next year, which I think would be really, really great
Hmm.
and fun. And I love planning things.
Yeah. Do you?
Yes, I do. I
Nice.
really like probably more than I
Really?
should. Yeah, I just
That's great though,
it's
because then they have, it's great when you have someone who loves to do,
yeah,
do a particular
right.
task, right?
And especially in like if we merge that with ILY
Hmm.
and trying to expand the Indigenous and Native community on
Yeah.
campus, like, oh my gosh, yes.
Hmm.
And so, I'm just right now just letting our co-chairs like do what they're doing
Hmm.
and molding the
Yeah.
foundation right now, which
Hmm.
is, I feel like just the toughest, the
Hmm.
most difficult thing to do, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
is
To
getting
build it.
to
Yeah.
build the foundation. So
Yeah.
trying to just wanting to support them in any way that I can,
Right.
and then next year, I mean, if that doesn't work out, then I
Hmm.
mean, I'm sure there's other ways that I can support and
Yeah.
help to grow the ILY community on campus, and I
That's
would love to
amazing.
do that. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And last question, like if for those who are interested in being like an ally or just learning more about the Indigenous community
Mhm.
here, is there a resource that you would recommend or or how can they become involved with IOI or what?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I think, I mean, if they just like Google ILY, like Indigenous
Mhm.
Leaders at Yale,
Yeah.
the website will come up, and
Mhm.
I want to say that there are links to where it'll connect you with, um, like the co-chairs, or
Right.
I think get added to the mailing distribution
Awesome.
list.
Awesome.
I think that would be a fantastic place to start.
Mhm.
I think also just visiting the NACC, the
Mhm.
Native American Cultural Center,
Mhm.
they would be able to provide a lot of resources, ones that I mean, that I probably don't know about either.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I always try to defer.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's excellent. So I could keep asking you questions, but I won't. But again, I just want to thank you, Charmaine, for coming today and just sharing about yourself, things that I would never know about you unless we had a, conversation. And I just really appreciate your time this morning. So, um, to our listeners, I hope you found Charmaine's story inspiring and insightful. You know, what I love about it is, just getting, being able to get to know you. And I feel that just doing this has changed how I work, with my colleagues. And it was just fascinating hearing about your story. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
No, thank you for having me. I'm very happy that
Oh,
we did
yeah,
this.
me
Yes,
too.
thank you for asking me again. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited now to.
Really? Yeah, to
Yeah.
hear it,
Yes.
right? So yeah, it will be out soon. No pressure, Ryan. But poor Ryan. Um, For those of you who don't know, Ryan is the video and audio producer who helps. He creates this for me. I just talk, so um, and he's been amazing. So yeah, again, I thank you so much for coming today, and I just look forward to um continuing, the conversations and
Yes.
getting to know you, getting to know all of my guests, because it's been a great experience for me. Um, and yeah, just just awesome. Thank you so much, Charmaine.
Of course. We need to catch up and meet, some other time and
Yeah,
continue these conversations. I'm really enjoying this.
absolutely. And where's your office located? Is it 55?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
see, we're in the same. See, I tell everyone we're in the same building. We
'Cause
don't
are
see
you
each
on
other.
are you on 6?
I am.
Yes. I'm on 2. So
That is so funny. So yeah, we
so
definitely.
maybe like lunch sometime.
Yeah, we should. We definitely should. And I would love to. It's been fascinating just getting to know you and hearing about your stories and everything. And it's so funny. Like
I know.
listening to you, there are certain, common things that or things we had in common
Yeah.
that make me laugh. So until then, we're gonna sign off. But thank you so much, Charmaine.
Thanks.
Awesome.